Hello and welcome. If you're a software tester, I'm sure you know the pain of setting up complicated test environments. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down how Amazon Web Services, AWS, can solve that exact problem and a whole lot more. This is a skill that can give your career a huge boost.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the big why. What real-world problems does AWS actually solve for testers like us? Then, we'll open up the Cloud Toolkit and see what you'll need. After that, I'll show you how to get started for free, and we'll even walk through launching your very first virtual machine. And finally, we'll talk about the career payoff, what this all means for you.
So first things first, why on earth should you, as a tester, even care about the cloud? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's the solution to some of the most frustrating, time-sucking problems we face every single day. Let's kick things off with a classic scenario, one that probably gives you nightmares. Your manager walks over and says, "Hey, can you test this new feature on 10 different combinations of operating systems and browsers? And, oh yeah, I need it by the end of the day." Where do you even begin with that?
Okay, so in the old days, this was a total disaster, right? You'd have to request physical machines, wait for days or even weeks for them to show up, the company had to pay a ton of money up front, and you were stuck with them. The cloud just flips that whole script. You can spin up the exact machine you need in minutes, use it for an hour, and only pay for that 1 hour. Honestly, it's like the difference between buying a whole fleet of cars versus just hailing a cab whenever you need one.
So just think about what that really means for your day-to-day work. Do you need to test on some weird, obscure version of Linux just for one client? Boom! You can have that environment ready in 5 minutes. Need to run a massive parallel test suite? You can launch 10 machines at once and just shut them all down when you're done. You become faster, way more efficient, and a huge problem solver for your entire team.
Okay, so how do we actually do all this cool stuff? Let's crack open the toolkit and look at the core AWS service that makes all this magic happen. This is really the heart of your new cloud testing setup.
The service you're going to use all the time is called EC2, which stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you. Just think of it as a giant online catalog of virtual computers. You can pick any model you want, rent it by the hour, and have it up and running in minutes.
And here's the one piece of jargon you absolutely need to remember. When you hear people in the AWS world say the word instance, they just mean one virtual machine. That is it. Seriously. An instance is just the basic building block for everything we're about to do. And this is where the real power kicks in. With EC2, you can create an exact copy of your production server, even if it has like 64 gigs of RAM, to go hunt down those impossible-to-reproduce bugs. You could launch a fleet of 20 machines to run your entire Selenium test suite in 10 minutes instead of waiting 3 hours. See, this isn't just about convenience. It completely changes what's possible for us in testing. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds powerful, this sounds great, but it also sounds really expensive. Well, here's the best part. You can learn and practice everything we've talked about so far without spending a single dime.
Amazon really wants you to learn their platform, so they offer this fantastic free tier. You can basically think of it as a free sandbox, a playground for you to get in there, get your hands dirty, and get real experience without ever worrying about a surprise bill showing up.
Specifically, you get 750 hours of virtual machine time every single month for a whole year. To put that in perspective, that's enough time to run one machine 24/7 for 31 days straight. It's way more than enough time to master the basics and build some really cool test setups.
Getting your free account is a really simple 5-step process. Now, yes, you will need to put in a credit or debit card, but don't worry, this is purely for identity verification. They just put a tiny temporary hold on it, like $1, and then it's refunded. It's just to make sure you're a real person. Once that's done, you just hang tight for the activation email, which usually shows up in a few hours.
All right, once your account is active, it's time for the fun part, launching your very first virtual machine. You're going to be surprised at how fast this is. Let's just walk through the basic idea.
So, we're not going to do a full screen-by-screen tutorial here, but honestly, it all boils down to 4 main steps. You pick an operating system, you select the T2.micro instance type, which is the one that's part of the free tier, you generate a security key, and you click launch. And that's it. In about a minute, you have a brand new Linux server running in the cloud, just waiting for your commands. Now, that key file you download, the one that ends in .pem, is incredibly important. It's not just a password. It is the only key to your virtual machine's front door.
You've got to treat this thing like gold. Keep it somewhere safe, because if you lose it, you are completely locked out. And here is the #1 pro tip for managing your free hours. Always, always stop your machine when you're not using it. A running instance is like a running taximeter. It's always consuming your free hours. So just get into the habit of shutting it down after every session, and your 750 hours will easily last you the entire month.
Okay, so you've got the skills, you've practiced for free. Now for the big question. How does this actually pay off for your career? What's the bottom line here?
Look, having AWS on your resume is a huge differentiator. In an interview, when they ask how you test something under heavy load, you can say, oh, I'd spin up 50 EC2 instances and simulate a real-world flash sale. That is the kind of answer that gets you hired. It shows you're not just a tester. You're a modern, solution-oriented engineer.
The power to create any test environment you can possibly imagine is now at your fingertips, and it is completely free for you to explore. So the only question left is, what are you going to build and test with it first?